UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Good evening and welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. Tonight we focus on the national roads across the country, especially the pains and the gains that come from this. Billions of shillings committed to roads all over the country. We're talking about 159,000 kilometers of roads. But how much of that is paved? How much of it is usable? It's about 11% of it. But we come from the express, we go all the way to look at the section between Mitiana and Mubende. We spread our wings all the way to go to Karuma Bridge and come to Katonga and ask ourselves, if these are the corridors that are bringing in the income into this country, why are they still a pain point? If these are meant to be the drivers of the economy for growth, development, but also to see the 500 billion economy, tenfold at that, is this a possibility or is it a hoax? Tonight we focus on that and come from all the pains that are there and trying to find solutions to what is happening. We shall also be looking at what is closest, especially when the rains fall in Kampala. What will happen to the metropolitan city of Kampala there? But let's look at the pain points that are there. One, roads are not merely infrastructure, they're also economic production areas. They move from one end to the other. Two, we also want to look at just not what those roads carry, but also people and services. Poor roads increase the cost of production, trade and livelihoods there. Because as long as it's there, talking about the 2 to 4 hours that are spent in jam in Kampala, you know how much we lose there? Three, we also look at something that is closer home. The quality of the road determines whether Uganda can effectively commercialize agriculture and have the industries it keeps talking about. Four, we finally look at what is more important than any other, especially when we look at which roads should we be focusing on. Where should we be putting our money? If we invested $350 million, where should it be? Uganda needs to move from constructing roads to managing integrated national transport network. That's the biggest part of it all. But let's meet the panel that is going to make sense of the stories tonight.
Right Honorable Justine Kasule Lumumba, a Ugandan educator, a politician. She's currently the Minister of ICT and National Guidance. Previously, she served as Minister of General Duties in the Office of the Prime Minister, but also served as the Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement. In the docket, she's meant to put the infrastructure of ICT, but also on how government puts out its message. Sharifa Buzechi, Public Administrator, Human Resource Practitioner, currently the Executive Director of Kampala Capital City Authority. Assumed office in December of 2024 and has been attributed to some of the changes that have been there. Formerly worked in local government and central government with more than 13 years of experience. Engineer Isaac Uwani, a civil engineer, a commissioner right now for national roads at the Ministry of Works and Transport. He was the brains behind the Karuma Bridge project. He also signed the contract in Tokyo on behalf of the country. He is previously a director with UNRWA as a director in charge of network planning and engineering. Dr. Fred Muhumza, a seasoned economist, a commentator on anything economics or development of the country. He is a director at the MOOBS Economic Forum. He has a work experience as an economic advisor to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, with his 20 years experience in developing policy, research, analysis, formulation and reviews. Honorable Paul Omara, an economist, a former banker with numerous financial institutions both in and out of the country. He represents the people of Otuke County in the 12th Parliament, very outspoken both on finance and the economics of the country.
So you have met the panel. Just one change there from Engineer Isaac Uwani And we have Alan Sempewa, who is with us, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Works and Transport. He'll be stepping into those shoes to explain things in that area. But also you can be part of the show. Go to our YouTube channel, drop your comment there. On X, and also streaming live on the spaces there. Drop your comment there. The number for text or WhatsApp, 0709 60 25 92. Let's jump into this conversation. Gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for coming to discuss such a patent issue. And I think it's only befitting that I come to Alan first and foremost. Alan, the story that has hit the headlines the most is the Express. $350 million spent, no tracking on traffic, handed over a contract of $122 billion, a lot of scrutiny, especially on the revenues that are coming in. Is this road worth the money we borrowed to invest in it?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Timothy, and our viewers out there and the panel. Good evening, all of you. Again, there is much that is taken out of context, and I appreciate a forum like this where we get out here and clarify on some of the issues. This was our very first expressway, and I'm sure you're referring to the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway. And I think we need, even before we speak about whether it is making sense or the collection is making sense, we could also, Timothy, talk about the value that we've so far realized from the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway. One is the reduced travel time. Is the expressway meeting the desired benefit it was set to achieve? And you will agree with me there that yes, the road is maintained on a 24/7, 7 days a week, okay? Patrolled. I think for me it's the safest road we have in this country, so to speak, because you have 24/7 patrols on that road, that go around the entire road from Busega all the way to Mpala. That's why you have no incidents. In fact, the period before commencement of maintenance and tolling of the expressway, you remember the incidents and sagas that we had with the dead bodies littered, and you'll be waylaid quite easily. That is not the case we have now. The road is maintained again thoroughly well. You may think we don't have grass growing or we have a turf along the road, but actually the grass actually grows. It does grow, but we have a routine maintenance arrangement, and that's why the road is maintained in the way it is. Come on, it's a gateway to the rest of the country.
The things you're talking about are given. If a road is created, people will move on the road. The questions we're putting before you, because we're comparing it to the Nairobi Express, it's almost the same measurement, 27 kilometers, almost the same amount of money that was spent from Nairobi all the way to the Jomo Kenyatta Airport. We have spent 350 million. There was meant to have monitoring of cameras to tell us the number of cars that moved through that place. Up to today, we're not sure. You gave out a contract of 122 billion in expectation of a 5-year, 146 billion. Did you give us a value for that loan as the Ministry of Works?
Yes, I can say yes, a proud yes, because we've already surpassed the revenue collection that we had actually envisaged. At the moment, the revenue collected has gone up to 190 billion Ugandan shillings. Out of that, we've only paid about 55 billion to the contractor for the period they've maintained the road. I'm coming to you. The revenue has surpassed than what we had actually projected. The growth in the traffic has equally surpassed. Why give it to the value that the road has actually provided? Because if indeed it wasn't as valuable to us, we would not be seeing the projections we're seeing right now. We would not be seeing traffic on the road.
What you're saying is not ordinarily true. The traffic went up between 2022 and 2024. It has dipped in 2025. It has dipped further in 2026. The revenues you're talking about, November of 2024, you were in deficit of 407 billion. In January of 2022, you were in deficit of 347 billion. You are always in deficit. What revenue are you talking about that you have achieved with this road?
I could actually take you through, and I think that's an anomaly over there. I could make the corrections that we've actually seen an upward trend of revenue along the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway than again projected. And I don't know the source of that information. But
this is what you presented both to Parliament from the Ministry of Works.
I will take you through that. The Ministry reported January 2022 when we commenced operations. Yes. Okay. Are we reading from some?
Yes, because what I want is you to read what Ministry of Works has,
Yes.
and also what IGIS or Pinnacle has. Exactly, because the auditor that audited it gave the deficit that you had there. Give us the deficit, especially when we're talking about December 2023. What did you collect? What is revenue?
Actually, our independent verification did go through the report that the committee picked on the road, you know, and it's far different from actually what we have. And if we do the checking, we actually have the right figures, and this we've actually presented. That is for them actually to take note of, but we've given them our own independent verification because we run the system. And we've actually done this collection, given it to the escrow account, and it's actually there because we don't keep it.
Let me ask, how did IGIS get the contract of the express?
Again, after construction, government had to do or undertake an operations and maintenance contract, ensure that the road is kept in the state it should be in, as it is right now. So it didn't have to be the construction contractor to maintain the road, but one that would be able to collect the revenues, one that would be able to ensure security patrols on the road, two, but also maintenance of the road, what we call the O&M contract. So we put out bids out there, and we got a company called Aegis International, which has experience in this area, O&M, or operations and maintenance, and that's how we got the contractor currently, whose term has since expired because we're now getting into another phase of contracting another, because after 5 years period, we're supposed to review the contract and hand over to another.
How much of the money have you been able to recover for government, $350 million that was forked out as a loan to be able to do this express?
Thank you very much. Already 191 billion has been collected. And we, like I said, we do hand over this money to the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Now, Finance does the actual repayment of the loan. We don't manage the loan repayment.
Okay. Allow me come to the Right Honorable Justin Lumumba. The Right Honorable, it's good to have you this evening. Let me start on a basic note. Right Honorable, what is the mandate of a minister? Before I come to the question that I should put before you. If a minister is given a docket like Ministry of Works and Transport, what is their mandate?
Good evening, all viewers. I want to thank everybody who is watching us and those who will watch us even after this. Technology has given us that opportunity that we can even watch us after YouTube and all other channels. Mandate of a minister is the political head of the ministry. So the political head of the ministry has the responsibility to look into policy, if there is any, if there is none, to bring up a policy in relation to that sector. One, how do you get how do you get the policy? One, you remember we are in political parties, so every political party takes to its manifesto to the voters, to the Ugandans to choose, and then Ugandans choose. Once a party has been elected, so it's the manifesto of that party from which policies are derived. Because you make promises, as politicians, you make promises to the people as a political party, and if it is a policy to do with the Ministry of Works, which you are talking about, our policy is that we should connect the country, the trunk roads, from one point of the border to another point. So that is a policy. So when that policy is made, then we now resources are allocated according to the policies. Of course, it may even be taken further by having the law in relation to the policy. So now, in terms of Ministry of Works, the roads have been made all the way from Busia to Chisoro to Katuna, the other side called Gatuna, then all the way to Congo, to Bwera Mpondwe, all the way to Nimule, all the way to Mutukula, all of those. So those are the trunk roads. They connect us from one part of from one border to another country. So, and you remember, that was the biggest priority NRM took on immediately. They took up leadership. So, forming policy, informing policy, but also making sure you keep evaluating that policy to see if it suits the current situation. So the work of the minister is to play the role of political supervision of that ministry and hold himself or herself accountable, and also be held accountable to the public for his or her work. So that is the work of the minister in a broader view. So we can bring in other things like legislation, because a minister is a member of parliament, whether elected or ex officio. Like me, I'm ex officio, elected, so that you take the laws to parliament to do the legislation, but also be accountable to parliament and also to the public. That is also part of the mandate, the work of a minister. In addition to what I've explained, the minister is supposed to see today, focus to tomorrow and beyond tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Country better.
And I think that's where my question comes from. The Honorable Fred Byamukama came out lamenting about engineers within the Ministry of Works on the Nakauka Road that have bought portions of land along there and have made it difficult to be able to get access to create that road. Why would a minister come out in public and lament? Does he not know what he's supposed to do? Why do we have a minister lamenting about such incidents within his subordinates?
It depends on how you are viewing it, because in my own view, I don't think he's lamenting. You remember when the president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, took oath on the 12th of May this year. He said there were two sentences. This is Chisanja, no sleep. And he said everybody, every elected leader has to make sure, works with, follows up and supervises government programs. One, as a minister in the sector where you are, but also as a political leader, you must also monitor government programs in the area where you come from. So giving the responsibility to the ministers, take charge of your sector. Make sure work moves on. This sluggish way of doing things with a laissez-faire attitude, he was more or less saying has to stop. Like we go for a loan, and a loan is passed by parliament, and it takes 3 years, 5 years to the time of beginning implementation. Yet everything was stated in a loan. Those are the things saying no sleep. I come from Bujiri. My community may not have enough water. I have to make sure I follow up with the Ministry of Water to make sure my people get water, because it was promised to them by the people of NRM who were voted. So this is our responsibility. So the second sentence was no corruption. So the issue of fighting corruption is the responsibility of you, the person in charge of the sector, to make sure there is no corruption. You mitigate corruption in your sector. So he's not lamenting, he's exposing what he has seen as part of what is either corruption. You have to also do an internal evaluation. Him as a head of a sector, a head of a ministry, he has been there fine. But there are things he's now observing, saying, no, I think this is corruption, and he's exposing that to the public. Because the president said it. So it is, and the president was more or less saying, they have had cries about corruption. You as the people I'm giving responsibility to take charge of the sectors must do an internal evaluation. What is the corruption? And that's why he's exposing that, saying, yes, we have engineers, this is their work, but I think they are not doing good work in this area. And he's exposing it. It is NRM now evaluating itself, making sure tomorrow is better.
From the point you have mentioned, that he is coming out to speak about it, what does he want the public to do first and foremost? Because you're saying acting, the president sacked 6 engineers as the minister was going to the Committee of Physical Infrastructure and said some of them who are here have been interdicted. Why isn't he interdicting these other engineers he's talking about instead of talking to the public about it? What should the public do?
We are accountable to the public. That's part of giving accountability. Because if tomorrow he wakes up and he just sends away this engineer Lumumba without explaining to the public that this engineer Lumumba was doing 1, 2, 3, people may think they are witch hunting our daughter because of this or the other. It is also part of giving accountability. That the Lumumba I'm saying to step aside. There is this reason, this and this, and you step, and according to our law, you are innocent until proved guilty. So the investigations are going on. What we have to demand for is that after the investigations have been done, let the public be informed. And if these people are going to be taken to court, let there be enough evidence. So he's not lamenting, he's doing his work. And he's not the only one doing his work.
And we'll come back to that. Let me come to the Honorable Mara. Honorable Mara, you have been both on the Finance and the National Economy committees there.
Budget.
And the budget. Busega and PG Express, it's been more than 10 years. Kampala Jinja Express, more than 10 years. SGR, more than 13 years. Northern Bypass, more than 10 years. Entebbe Express, 9. Southern Bypass, that one we can't even talk about. Outer Belts, there is a delay in how these projects are happening. Why are you passing loans for projects that they have not yet sorted out people that are affected, that they have not yet compensated people, that there is no design in plan? Why are you passing such loans?
Thank you, Timothy. The work of Parliament is very clear. Among others is legislation and appropriation. And in the process of appropriation, we look at a number of things because our revenue collections is not yet up to or sufficient enough to meet our budget as always presented by the President. There is a need for us to go and borrow. So the budget comes with a component of domestic revenue collection and then borrowing. Now that borrowing part, as Parliament, we have the presumption that first, that the executive has been able to clearly look at the needs of the country and done correct revenue projections and seen the need for borrowing. So when they come to us, our responsibility is to make sure that we provide the necessary financing that the government of Uganda needs to function. Now, if there is inefficiencies, I think during SONA, when the President presented his, the review of, or his performance of the previous term, he actually was deeply concerned about the inefficiency, the laissez-faire thing that the Right Honorable Lumumba has talked about in government. Now, the biggest problem I think we have had with all those years that we have not been able to perform is basically governance, corruption, and lack of patriotism. And I am happy that the President has given now a signal. That is why now across the country people are calling Honorable Namere and Honorable Balam. That is in local and in the local government area. Now somebody should also be shouting. I think the Minister, Honorable Byamukama, is doing a good job in terms of confronting the ills that has faced this country. So the traditional public service attitude and way of governing is actually not working. That is why, although people are raising concerns about the manner in which our ministers of local government and also the Minister of Works is working, there is no any other alternative. Diplomacy has failed. They call it what? The public service standing orders gives a lot of latitude for public servants to be corrupt. You can never fire anybody. So I think the best way now to do it is to ask people to stand aside while we pursue and implement government programs. So to answer your question directly is that for us as Parliament, we have done our job. The responsibility of execution, the poor execution, lies with the executive. And I think the President has woken up maybe too late, because now he said this term is Kisanja no more sleep, Kisanja no more corruption. I wish we had done it 10 years ago. Those references you're making too. If we had done it 10 years ago, do you think we will be where we are today? Because I'm told in local, in some districts with local governments, they just hear Balam is coming and you find graders are on the road cleaning up those maram roads. Maybe with at a much strategic level, I think that what the minister has done, I've seen Minister of Works has given the contractors ultimatums. They said, if you don't finish this work by the next 2 months or 3 months, we are going to cancel your contract.
Honorable Mara,
yes.
Let me come to you, and let's use numbers.
Yes.
Mr. Gampiji Express.
Yes.
This was awarded a while back.
Yes.
Only 47% was complete in terms of compensation.
Yes.
Money was borrowed from ADB.
Yes.
The design change has happened twice. They removed it from where it was supposed to go and took it to a wetland. They brought in someone else to design. It moved from 547 billion to now 1.3 trillion shillings. Have you as Parliament done enough to make sure that there is value for money with these loans that we're getting?
Timothy, let me say this without any fear of contradiction. There has been a cobweb and a systemic networks of corruption in the ministry, because the manner in which those contracts are agreed and signed, the escalation clauses, which is inside there, is very annoying. So who are the people who sign these clauses? How do we get to contract? It is very, very annoying. So the corruption, which has been quite inherent, has caused this kind of escalation which you're seeing. And we were not paying much attention to it. As Parliament, I think now the chairman of the committee, Honorable Mpaka, in fact, I wanted him to be on the show, but since in our rules, you cannot discuss a matter which has not been presented before Parliament and agreed, you cannot discuss it on a forum like this one. But I think the parliamentary committee is now taking a very keen eye on what has happened. And I think the position which has been taken is, if you are corrupt yesterday, even if you run, we will pursue you, we'll look for you. And therefore, those who have done these kind of things in the past, if it is proven that they had their fingers in the pie, they should be prosecuted. So this is something that we as a country, we must not accept at all. It has been a cobweb of corruption, systemic. They had their fingers everywhere. And I can also say that the staff in the office of the Attorney General cannot claim that they were innocent too. They are supposed to protect the country. And as I said before, if we were nationalistic and we love this country, this kind of exorbitant figures, which escalates at ease as if we are a very rich country, should never have happened.
Thank you. Let me come to Dr. Mumza. Dr. Mumza, when you look at every corridor that gets us out of the city to go to all these tributaries that get us out of the country, you look at Katonga as you're going to Mbara, that's when you're joining Rwanda and all these countries, we have an issue with the bridge there. You look at Karuma, it's also still under construction, a bit of it there. You look at Mubende, Mitiana Road, every attribute living this city has a pain point. What does this mean for the economy? What cost is it to the economy?
Yeah, thank you, Timothy, and good evening, panelists and viewers. It's really a big discussion when you come from the economic perspective. The other day I was writing my own stories and reviewing how Mr. Museveni captured power. He cut off Kampala and the west at Katonga. Now we've literally cut ourselves the same way. So it doesn't only have economic implications, it also has security implications. A lot of our survival for food, if you are to take basic food, is coming through that road. So you have rice from neighboring countries and whatever we sell there, you have bananas, you have a lot of coffee. All those hardships on the roads are going to increase the cost of living in Kampala. Now there will be a young man and girl who were surviving on 50,000 or 200,000 a month. But because the bunch of matoke and whatever else they are buying was lower. When that cost goes up and they are not able to meet their basics because now they need more money to do the same thing and the more money is not there and they are reducing on their scale, they become jittery. So they are going to become a political agitation group out there. And the politicians in the house will wonder what has happened to these young people. But really, you can connect it economically back to the state of the infrastructure. And at the planning stage, we all invested dearly and heavily into infrastructure with an assumption that the infrastructure will cause the economy to grow. Once the economy grows, we'll raise the revenue, people will get out of poverty, we'll raise some sufficient revenue and pay back the debts. Now, when none of those happen, because the money has been released, the roads are not there. Delays all over, but the loans are maturing, the payments are needed at that point in time. Especially the worst payments that I look at is domestic borrowing. If I borrow from the World Bank, they are charging you 0.75%. You have 40 years to pay back. That's not a loan that's going to cost you. But you dare to go and compensate these engineers who knew the road is passing here. Now they have become project-affected persons. And those are to be covered by the government budget. So you're either going to fail to pay medical interns and have another problem there because you must pay these engineers who planned their corruption. Because they're the ones who said the road will pass here. And now, as you mentioned, because these guys are here, you either have to change the course of the road to avoid them and end up in a swamp. You have to change the design. I mean, you get trapped up in a cobweb mess of things. But while that is happening, you borrowed money 3 years and you're paying 16%. If you had borrowed World Bank money, you'll be paying half a percentage over 40 years. You have some leverage. So we have reached a level that the government budget is in a very tight situation because of these delays. Money has gone. The result is not there. The economy is not feeling it. This population is becoming jittery, justifiably. And you get into a dicey situation of, what do I do? And Honorable here is saying the president may have come late. No, the president came early. It's just that these institutions have failed the economy. IGG is not a recent institution. CID is not a recent institution. So what has been happening here is what you want to ask. Because even firing the 6 engineers, fine, stop them up. You want to stop the bleeding. But thereafter, if the bleeding stops, you want to go back and say, what is the underlying condition? What exactly happened? And I've seen Ugandans say our debt is sustainable, we are below the threshold of 50% or thereabout. They forget that this threshold goes with what the World Bank calls the CPIA, Country, Policy and Institutional Assessment. How able is this country likely, or how likely is this country going to use the loan it has borrowed to convert it into value? So you assess the country's policies and you assess the country's institutional capacity to convert the loan into tangible economic results. If that country has a very low country institutional and policy assessment, its debt to GDP must not be 50%. And if you check the Ugandan reading, our debt to GDP should have been at 30%. So we passed the limit long ago. Because you begin to see, you borrowed, you did not use the institutional framework and policies to convert this loan into a tangible economic benefit, and yet the loan has matured. So you end up in a situation where you're going to borrow to pay the loan. And then you have limited capacity to deliver the required services. That's how we found ourselves into what we're calling debt rollover, refinancing. This budget of this year, I think, has about 40.
It's 13 trillion.
We have 14 trillion. It's 13 point something, which is close to 14.
Debt rollovers.
Debt rollover. Literally meaning I did not have the money to pay back because the economy didn't generate it, but it has matured. So you are going to get into two problems. One, negotiate with the people who lent you the money to say, assume I have paid you and you have brought it back. And then they'll say, now I brought it back, interest stands. But interest from where? So again, you have reached another question that 33% of URA collections is only in interest payment. And now the roads are stalling, the schools are stalling, health is stalling.
Because of thieves.
And the thieves are feasting because the thieves are the ultimate cause of all this space you are in. So for me, I want to see more thrust on catching the thieves Because the thieves are like a tick. Even a sick cow, the tick will climb on it and eat it. For them, they don't mind. Today I was reading about Ukraine. Ukraine, the thieves stole $100 million, which was meant to protect the energy infrastructure against Russian drones and missiles. So Russia was able to hit their own missiles, not because they did not have a plan, but the people in charge stole $100 million. And when it came up, the president simply said, oh, the ombudsman should come under the ambit of government. So they were going to be supervising the people supposed to supervise them. When the population rioted, he reversed it, and that's when they realized 100 million. So what have these engineers done to us is not just stealing the billions. They really should be in a deeper position, but everybody involved. By the time this engineer takes the money, it was not one person.
Doctor, let me give you a realistic, because this trended, I think, last week towards the end, on the Mitiana Mubende area there. There's a huge pothole in the middle there as you proceed to Mubende. A Sino truck, no, actually one of these container trucks, was trying to dodge that pothole. The whole back came and hit a family in a car.
Yes.
And the container laid on the car.
Yes.
When we look at such lives, in the last few weeks, the road carnage we have had, yes, there is negligence, yes, there is overspeeding, but there's also contribution to how bad these roads are. What does it mean that government seems not to value the lives of Ugandans?
As I've told you, economists have something they call a straitjacket. You are on a one-way road, and then the jam emerges. You have nowhere to go. I try to avoid those roads. Because if there is another road and you see there is jam, you try to come back. So government has reached in a catch-22 position. You want to do something, you cannot do it. Because when we are doing budgeting from the government angle, the thing that takes the first call on public resources is debt service. Principal and interest. We don't take even to the legislatures for appropriation, it is for information. The day they took a decision we borrow, they took a decision on all the consequences of that loan. So that, to us, we take it to them, and that is 45% of the budget. They have no say on it. The other remaining portion where they, again, which is second call on resources, is salaries and wages. And that is also another big cost. So you'll find that the honorable members of parliament will be talking of a budget of 84 trillion. But literally...
The discretionary.
On
a 47 trillion. Power. 47.
It's not even the 47, because the 47 is going to come with salaries and wages. It's going to come with these ongoing projects. They are part of it. This was year one. The project is 4 years. So on that, you have no discretion. It's going to come with a security component. You are not going to be debating security matters. So literally you say, what can government do? So even if it cared about the lives of people, and I believe it does, it has little that it can do. It is literally like the chicken, as they say, the Kamunye has taken its cheek. What can a poor chicken do? Follow the kite?
Learn how to fly.
It is going to, you know. So you don't want to find yourself there when you are a minister of finance. And that's why we're saying, what do we do to get fiscal space back to the MPs and the president?
Just quick comment before I come to Madam Idi.
You see, if you look at this year's budget on infrastructure, it's 8.7 trillion. Now, out of that, 4.1 trillion are for the roads. Now, that one includes new roads and all that. The president had projected that road maintenance alone will require about 3 trillion for us to just maintain the road infrastructure without doing the new ones. So if you have 4.1 trillion this financial year for all the road infrastructure, including the new ones, then how do you then maintain the road infrastructure? So I think we need more money to really maintain our roads appropriately. I thought I should just provide that information.
Let me come to Madam Idi. The rains are around the corner, and we know how this city will look like.
Heavy rains, not just rains.
We don't even need a prophet to tell us. We just know what will happen. What are you doing about making sure we do not have floods and cars deep down in water?
Thank you very much, Timothy, but I don't really surely know whether you know what will happen. Why? We have had a number of interventions we have put in place to ensure that we reduce the retention time of water on the surface. The time water is retained on the surface determines what loss we will have as a city or as a country. For example, the area which has been flooding regularly is around downtown, Savannah, Allen Road. Mm-hmm. We have been having the entries into Kampala, Chabogo, Sapolo was also flooding where we put box culverts. So what have we done? One is to be able to ensure that water seeps through quickly through our drains. So we have intensified desilting of our drains, maintaining them, but particularly for Savannah Allen Road. I remember I was here with you, Yusuf, in October 2025 when we had the major flooding in that area. And the hiccups which were there at that time, we have since handled them. We have opened up, we have perforated the channel and made openings into the channel with 900 diameter culverts. We have opened up 18 points. We then remained with the challenge on Benchiwanuka, coming from Toto, Clock Tower, where it remained flooding. So that's when we had that intervention you are seeing now, where they are doing works at night, where we have a 2-meter wide drainage and 1.5 meter deep. We want that one also to drain water from the NMT, because there's a lot of water which comes from that area, come down again into the channel. For the recent rains we have had, we have been monitoring to see whether the changes we put there have actually made any improvements. And we have seen that out of the 11 buildings which flooded, we had one building, Qualisale, which was still having a problem. And in the most recent rain we had, it was not affected. So what does that mean? It is a concerted effort. Much as we are providing the engineering solutions of desilting, ensuring that we have channels moving through up to the Nachivubo channel, there are also behavior changes which will have to happen among our people. For example, there are issues of irresponsible waste management. Irresponsible waste management is the very reason why we are always in the drains. Desilting, unclogging, because people have practices of dumping waste in our drains, littering everywhere. And when it rains, all this finds itself downstream, and we have to continuously unclog, unblock, and then desilt these drains. So as we put in the engineering solutions, we should also look at the issues of behavior and how responsible we should be as people of Kampala. We have intensified a sensitization on proper waste management. The national cleanup has also helped us because it's now a national issue. The waste we manage in Kampala does not only come from Kampala. When it rains, Kampala is, we have points which are at very low altitude. So it is drawn from all the high ends into the town. You find that you have foodstuffs coming from Mpigi, Matoke coming from Isinjiro, but it comes with everything we don't need to use. It comes with the peelings, it comes with the everything, which are almost a third of that what you are buying as a Matoke bunch. You are not going to use it, but it ends up in Kampala. You have vegetables which are brought here with roots and everything. It ends up here. Now, with improper waste management practices, those will end up in our drains. But other than that, every new road we have constructed, we are also constructing roadside drains to be able to seep water off the roads into the main channels, the primary channels, until it finds itself in the major water bodies. We have also identified 65 black spots where we have constructed box culverts We have constructed crossings to ensure that water seeps through. However, the challenge is not yet fully tackled. We are aiming at reducing the length of stay of water on our roads or on the surface. Currently, we are counting 9 to 7 minutes. If it rains and it has stopped, how long would that water take if our drain is properly unclogged? And if it is properly unclogged, when it rains, that water will seep through very well. Recently, we had a problem around Chambogo there. It was a very simple problem where we had palm trees enter into the box culvert and got stuck there. Traffic was held for over an hour until just that old palm tree had to be removed. So what does that mean? That we should be agile enough to know that when the rains are coming, are all the spots monitored? And that's what we have put our teams to do. We will have some water on the surface, but we are aiming to see that no one loses business, no one loses a life because of floods.
And I like that gives the public confidence. But let me ask about the channels you're talking about, because you're putting the box culverts, but the channel they're going through are still the old channels. How do you ascertain or to ensure that the volume of water that is coming through is not blocked within the channel that was old? Because giving an example, where Watoto is and all the water that comes up, just right in front there, that whole place gets flooded. Because the channel within the water is going is slimmer than the box that is allowing in the water.
You appreciate that our drainage channels, all the three, the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary, the main drains, their age, they have outlived their lifespan, those ones which were constructed. 15 years old, and they were not designed to live up that long. They were also designed for a lesser population, lesser pressure in terms of infrastructure, and even the influx of people in the city. I was talking with a professor here before, and he was telling me he sees Kampala having over 10 million people in the next around 10 years. So what does it mean? 15 years ago, where our secondary, tertiary drains, for example, the tertiary drains were having 600 diameter culverts. Now that cannot happen. It cannot serve the purpose. We still have such, and that's why you see that we are now going into Benchwanka to dig up whatever was there to be able to provide for bigger size culverts. So wherever we are putting a bigger size culvert, we are also taking care of where the water is going to ensure that, again, it does not cause pressure on that side. But the hope I want to give people is that when we requested His Excellency the President, because remember when we were here last, the main issue was that the drainage master plan has not been funded by government, you remember. And we were begging that if it is funded, then we should be able to do an overhaul of all our drains and then have the Kampala drainage system reconstructed. I am happy to report that for this financial year, after the President issued the directive, we have been given 25 billion to start the redesigning of the drainage plan, because it had been developed in 2016 and the pressures are now different, and also work on the major drains like Lubiji, like Nalukolongo, and Nakamiro. So because those take big volumes of water. So we have started having the drainage master plan funded, and we hope when we start fully to implement what has been redesigned, the drainage system will significantly improve.
Thank you very much. Let me read some feedback before we take a break there. Richard from Iganga says, what fuels corruption in Uganda is abuse of power, and government has done nothing to check this vice. For instance, the cows have become demigods of the districts, and they do everything at their own without respecting the charter of physical responsibility. I do not know why the Honorable Balam is arresting other staff and not the accounting officers. Why has the PS of local government not interdicted for the work they are not doing? Okay, thank you for the message there. tell the Honorable Kasule Lumumba that we need guidance in some of these things because the tarmac and the usable roads in this country are so bad. And he says, think about Nimule. The road is very bad. Please, Honorable, let's see what happens because these roads will be taken care of by our kids. Okay. One more comes in here from James in Entebbe. Good evening. Thank you for bringing the panelists that are on the panel today. My question is, why should the minister still contract private companies to collect money at tolls? Doesn't it mean that the Ministry of Works cannot collect it directly? I am asking. This is Ivan. This is total wastage of money. Okay. Julius says, Timothy and Sempe, the two of you are giving different figures. We need to know which one is which. Thank you for the show. Thank you, Julius, for watching. And finally, good evening, Timothy. Thank you for the show. IMF nearly $40 billion as the recent report, but the real question will never be answered about the money. It's about who gets to decide a national priority when the loan conditions arrive. The government says the road, but we end up seeing big buildings, like Nia mentions a certain building. Knowing the owners, how they got the money, we see new cars and MPs. The young politicians need to understand that first and foremost, IMF lending shapes Uganda's African's economy and it benefits only them. Their sovereignty is at stake. This is Jabulano from Lira. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be diagnosing the national roads moving forward.
Mami!
Wanje sabo.
Ugamotia. Wina kachi. Ha. Kagulinis teka kagulinis. I want everything, eh?
Okay.
Yes. So, when I pay the time, this will increase my loan limit. Hey! Hemutieni momo. Madam, remove the food. Put more meat. Add the meat. Yes. Hey! Now, these are the fruits of paying your loan is in time.
That's right. Every time you repay your Momo loan on time, your loan limit can increase, giving you access to more money when you need it most. Dial *165*5# to borrow, pay back, and grow your limit with Momo loans.
You have juice?
Yes.
Juice in me.
We don't need anyone's permission to move forward. We never have. What we need is the power to do it our way, to move our people, our goods, our ideas across cities that breathe with our energy. Spiro is not your typical EV company. It's the power grid for African ambition, a network that connects Nairobi to Kigali, Lagos to Lome, Dar to Kampala. Not with cables and wires, but with clean, quiet, relentless movement. Every swap keeps the city running. Every ride links one life to another. We're copying no one else's future. It's we who powers the cities we live in. It's we who shapes the world they'll become. This is Africa, powered by us.
The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, MEMD, warns the public that fraudsters using fake social media accounts to solicit money while falsely claiming they can secure licenses, appointments with the Honourable Minister, or influence ministry decisions. Please note, you do not pay to meet the Honourable Minister or any Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development officials. Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development has not authorised anyone to collect money on its behalf. All Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development services are free of charge, except for statutory fees provided for by the law. Verify any communication by contacting info@energy.go.ug. Report any suspected fraud to the Ministry and the relevant law enforcement.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of a roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project. That answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
Welcome back from that quick commercial break here on Behind the Headlines. As we get into the last leg of the show, I'm joined by Madame Sharifa. Wait, the last 1 hour. The last leg of the show, I'm joined by Madame Sharifa, the Executive Director of KCCA, Dr. Fred Muhumza, Honorable Mara, Alan Sempewa, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Works, the Right Honorable Justin Lumumba, the Minister of ICT and National Guidance. And let's get into this conversation here. We're talking about the roads, especially looking at the pain points that get the tributaries out of this country. When you talk about Mubende, Mitiana there, you come all the way to Katonga, going to the Western Corridor, Karuma, all these are pains, especially for service delivery and goods and services. But let me come to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I know you have seen what has happened with the Express, what's happening with the committee in Parliament, but let's talk about the other roads also. Busega-Mpigi, which we talked about, it is now at 1.3 billion. Started in 2018, up to today, we're not seeing anything happening. Let's talk about the Katonga Bridge. Money has been borrowed as of May 2023, 191 billion to help the completion of that. We're not seeing anything. Karuma, which is supposed to be launched September of this year, 121 billion from JICA. We're wondering what's happening there. When you look at all these tributaries out of the city that are supposed to bring both goods and services out, they seem like a pain point. You as government, this 500 billion economy, tenfold, upper middle income, is this a fallacy or is it reality?
One, like I started, I said it is the NRM itself, the NRM government, that has come up to say this corruption has to stop. So at this time, we are looking at where is the point that should be touched to stop the corruption so that there is value for money. When you are looking at this, I want you to also to look at the issue of the loans themselves. We have also now started evaluating, we ourselves as government. Yes, we have the where things are going on well, but there is where things are not going on well. Let me give an example. When you are looking at the loans, when we borrow the loans for those big projects, how much money how much time do we spend for us to implement these projects? Let me bring the example. Like I said before, Parliament passes a loan and it takes 4 years to be implemented. One of the reasons is that sometimes we go in for borrowing money when a sector itself is not ready in terms of compensating the people, because you know here land belongs to the people. So for those big infrastructure projects, government has to compensate people. So you find government we have really borrowed a loan, and because especially during the COVID time, there is no co-funding from government because of the stress, the strain on the wallet, the national wallet. Then you find there is also the delay on the bureaucracies on the side either of government or the institution from which we are borrowing money. There are certain institutions that give us certain conditions, and we have not also been putting in efforts as government to make enough efforts. We've been putting in efforts, but not enough for us to say, for this we will not accept, for this we will accept. Because they lend us money, which money we pay back. Then also there is the issue of now, which has been now brought out by the Ministry, from the Ministry of Works, where the people who are implementing are the very people who want to be compensated because they learned of the project before. And then they sometimes disagree with the values that are attached to their properties or their land by the government valuers. And that takes time. But you remember when the government took a decision that when this happens, let the money be, let's go to court, and then the project goes on while the court process is on, so that the public good is met. But also there is another component which we also have to look at. Sometimes in government we put in place policies or measures, and sometimes they are not followed by the people who are in charge. We took a decision, I think last cabinet, that for any variation from the original cost to the next cost, it should not go beyond 10% of the original. But it was implemented maybe for some of you, then again, and this paper was brought by the Attorney General in cabinet, and we all supported. Then it all now went down. So these are things that we are also looking at as government. Then we also have this issue where you have a project who has taken up, yes, we have, yes, in the NRM manifesto that we must work on this road from point X to this point. But who determines the unit cost of that road? It's the Ministry of Works. Then who budgets? Ministry of Works is the one that calculates, takes to finance, and the finance accepts. Now when the money is released to the Ministry of who puts in the procurement, who advertises this tender? Is the Ministry of Works. Then when they've advertised the tender, who evaluates is Ministry of Works. And then who signs is Ministry of Works. Then who supervises this contractor who is paying is Ministry of Works. And you find the sector is given a lot of work, a lot of responsibility. So if one is not a patriot, it becomes a problem. Now, who establishes and that's why you find we have projects where you find in government there is the unity cost of tarmac by Ministry of Works is different from the unit cost of tarmac per kilometer by maybe a local government, is different from the unit cost by a kilometer by KCCA, or the unit cost of tarmac by a project under the Ministry Office of the Prime Minister, maybe under refugees, then the unit cost under another project. So these are things we are looking at, saying we have to come to the reality. Who determines the unit cost? And these are things we are doing internally. One wouldn't expect me to come and say them here, but people should also know that we're also looking into our own operations as government. What do we need to streamline? What do we need to change? What do we need to do? Let me give an example. When you talk of the road of
allow me to throw in a
Busega,
question.
but you have not even answered the one you asked.
I know, but you mentioned something that really caught me. Ministry of Works at the contract, Ministry of Works supervising, Ministry of Works evaluating. Where are the checks and balances?
Ministry of Works paying.
Ministry of Works paying. So who checks Ministry of Works? Where are the checks and balances? Who comes back to tell them this is not this way, this is not this? Where are the checks and balances there?
Now, once they've set the unit cost, and it has been put in the budget, and money has been released, they will go ahead and pay. So we need now to have somebody or an institution that should be establishing the unit cost so that we are able to get value for money. Let me give you an example. We had UNRA, Maram Road under UNRA would cost 36 to 38 million per kilometer. But a Maram Road worked on by the local government would find between 18 and 16, depending on the what? My colleague is saying 12 million, depending on the district. Yes. But this is all money coming from the same wallet, the national wallet. So these are things. So when you say who is the supervisor, now we have been looking at the Auditor General, the government valuer, the IGG, you know. Now, when those fail, what happens? But also there is Parliament. And that's why Parliament also has technical people to be able to, you see, to a committee, there is a clerk attached, there is a budget office attached, there is an ICT officer, there is what, so that they also, it is also a level to really check our work as the executive. But the way things are, all of the whole system was set up looking at like people, every Ugandan or people who are given responsibility are really patriotic. But the outcome has showed not everybody is patriotic. Now it means we have to get back on the drawing board and even put in place measures that can bring, we can overhaul, but also be able to check in case somebody does not fall in the category of the people who are supposed to carry the big heart for Uganda and a big heart of looking at this country that we need each other. So those are things we have to look at as a government. But the truth is, we must now all as Ugandans know that it is the responsibility of everybody, not only we who are in government, because our actions affect the people and the people's actions also affect us. These are things we must look at and agree to find a way forward. But who checks the other? The people who are given responsibility. Once they are not doing their work, we should also have another measure. But we also have now to enhance issues, the other existing laws like the Whistleblowers Act, and give security and protection to the whistleblower, because that's also one we have not exploited. We have not really exploited on this. And also we must also make sure as we fight corruption, we should also protect those who are fighting corruption. Because at one time we watched and somebody said you can fight corruption and corruption fights you back. So we must also check all of this. But nevertheless, all of that has gone on. But we have the government of NRM has maintained security in this country. And this is the foundation of everything. So we are able now to discuss the impact of roads and whatnot, because we now look at security as a given. Now we have we can now discuss roads. Even if we had good roads but without good security, wouldn't be making the strides we are making into development. Because now, even as we talk about the roads, it has, yes, there are issues to be looked at, but we have registered success. Now, when I look at issues of roads in terms of transformation and trade, we have our volumes to Congo have increased. In 2021, we had the 340 million US dollars. But as we talk now in 2022, it had increased to 660. And for Kenya, in 2021, we had 480 million US dollars. But when it came to 2022, it came to 520. And the volumes to Tanzania in terms of trade, it was 100 million. But in 2022, it was 200 million. That all because of security and the roads, but also the good relationship and the East African community. So the roads cannot be in isolation of other things. The roads are also fit into a number of issues, but the best and the major one is issues to do with the security, and also issues of transport, where we have good roads. You've seen long ago investments, especially investments used to be in urban areas, but because of the good roads, you have seen investors coming also going to invest in rural areas. Like people are now mechanized agriculture in Inwaya, mechanized agriculture in Amol, is because part of in addition to security, is also the good roads. Though we have issues that also must be improved, like you have talked about Karuma, you have talked about other roads. But also, we have also seen, because of roads, people going to invest in big investment now in Karamoja. Part of it, in addition to security, is part of it is also because of the road all the way tarmac from here to Moroto, and also working on the part beyond Moroto to Kotido and beyond to Kabong. And also, we also have to also look at, it has also facilitated transport of these, the goods. You know, long ago we used to take like 8 hours to travel from Kabale to Kampala, but we now take 6 to 5 hours. And this has also facilitated perishable goods getting to the market so fast. And this is where quite a number of our small-scale farmers or subsistence farmers have taken advantage and getting their perishable goods to the market. People in Wakiso getting their perishable goods from the rural Wakiso to the airport, because they have to export their goods. So all in all is that there is the good and the bad, and it's the responsibility of all of us to make sure we work on the bad. But what we have to do, especially we in leadership, we must listen, and we must also listen, but we must also be very accountable in terms of resources. We always want to give accountability in terms of resources on paper, but we must also now give accountability in terms of value and impact to the community, because we can no longer suppose about the issues of the kilometers we have that have tarmac, the kilometers that we have that are under, let me call them paved roads, but we also have now to look at the impact, and that's where the issue of PDM comes. And this Godumaram road should be able to be used by the ordinary person to run to the market, buy fertilizers, and come all acarazites to be able to arrest the situation in the garden early in time.
And Madam Right Honorable, let me come to what you've mentioned. You mentioned security, that's why even with the roads, but it's almost about to cause economic insecurity. But let me come to the question I want to ask you, and I'm glad Alan is here. About 160,000 kilometers of road that we have in this country, about 8,000 of it is paved. About 12,000 of it is good and fair to move on. Gives us less than 10% of what the roads look like in this country. As a government, do you think you can aim to this 500 billion economy with such roads that we have in this country?
Yes. You know, when it comes to development, we are now discussing issues of the roads. But for a country to develop, it's not only roads that can lead to development. You have talked about security, but we can also, now if we enhance every day on issues to do with the taking advantage of technology, let me talk about the issue of ICT. And we make sure we have electricity which across the country, and we have affordable access to ICT sector and facilities, and also have the data centers with the good cyber security. People will be able to invest in the PBOs. People will be able to invest in taking advantage of technology, and that can help, and that people will be able to also invest into manufacturing if we construct more centers for power production, or especially renewable energy. That will help us, but also making it affordable to the people. Then if we also put a much emphasis on in the fresh waters we have, it's good your name comes from where I come from, that the lake is supposed now to have more fish than it has now, so that we are able to harness that resource, that fresh water of Lake Victoria. By the way, Lake Victoria is one lake, when you have fish, you don't feed it. Like I've seen people who have cages struggling to feed fish in cages. No, you're not supposed to feed. That lake itself, if it's given the space to have its proper natural setting, you don't feed fish. There would be no need of feeding fish. But because we have, let me use the word, we have abused it. Now you see people bringing food into cages. They are not supposed to, but that is supposed now to have, if it has its natural setting, we do have fish and we'll be able to develop this country. Okay. We even, and you know, with the once you have the lake in its good natural setting, we shall use even our local small wooden boats and be able to fish and be able to take fish to the factories. So the issue of, yes, we are discussing roads, but the technology which has, like they used to say, Uganda is landlocked, but now Uganda is linked. Okay. We have the paved roads, we have the air, we have the water, we have the rail, and the SGR should really come on board, so that it reduces and the cost of transport, reduces and the cost of doing business in this country. Because once it comes on, we shall have, thank you, it will be better and it will be easier to transport even these goods to the markets.
Alan, let me come to you. When pressure of the road, when you look at the gestation period of a road to start and to finish, why does it take it so long to complete a road in this country?
Thank you. I think again, it is definitely, you justified that there is several number of projects that we can actually cite and say these, but there are actually several other projects that we've actually completed on time. I heard you speak about Katonga. Katonga, we're actually on course. Katonga was started in 2024, towards the end of 2024. We're actually now in towards completion. We should finish Katonga Bridge before the end of this year. It should actually be our Christmas gift to all of us and takes away the burden that we had. You remember when that place flooded and you have to go through Sembabule to continue to the greater, or maybe Mbarara, Masaka and beyond. So we have several other projects, but not to say that they are not genuine shortcomings and delays along our road network. We do have them. We've spoken about, and this has been said across the panel here, the issues to do with land acquisition. In some areas, Busegampiji, where we had actually to do a realignment, and that took us a bit of time, again, because the realignment has to be, again, redesigned, must be approved, and then more financing is secured to be able to support the realignment. So, but these are not issues, again, common to only us here. I mean, even in the region. Land, again, the disputes we have on land. For KCCA, they're lucky sometimes people are allowed to give land because they take a small portion of land. For a national road, a highway, you must take more than, than even half the existing. So, because you also have to have the reserve. The government must maintain a reserve along the road. So we get in here, interface with issues to do with the disputes on land, the family conflict on land, and then this takes us back, miles back. Why? Because you must acquire this land from these people. You must pay them. Government must actually have the money to pay them, and the time is actually running. And that is why now, in the new dispensation, the Honorable Minister of Works and Transport guided just last month that no new projects should actually be taken on until we have acquired a substantial or sizable right-of-way, the land. Why? So we can be able to cut on these delays that we have on our projects. And no new projects will actually be signed until we have actually that land. And also what we're doing in the financing we are getting, the loans we're actually getting or borrowing, there is now a component of land compensation. For example, Namagumba Udadidi now, a loan we got from ADB, has not only a civil works component, but also has now the land component. The extra scope of work we are doing on Busegampiji also, ADB has been also good to us. It's giving us money for civil works, but also for land compensation, so that we're able to cut down on the delays that our projects actually go through. And then lately, you've had the effect on the impact of the wars in the Middle East, the impact that we had of the epidemics previously. These actually had an impact on some of these projects. But don't forget financing. So infrastructure alone, infrastructure alone, I was trying to give you the causes, the factors, you know, that actually have our projects stay longer than sometimes anticipated. So, but even finances, you know, sometimes the budget is actually done, money is allocated but not released, sometimes on time. So this actually has an impact on these projects. So they definitely delay. The good news we have right now is government, His Excellency the President actually guided and supported us, and we got a supplementary budget in this financial year. So you're now seeing most of these projects picking up pace. You're seeing pace on Nakauka now. You're seeing pace on Busega, rather Busabala, Najana Kumbi Busabala. Even in Busega and PG, the contractor is actually mobilized and on ground, and all across the entire network. Also, I thought I should give you what is actually being done at the moment. You know, moderator, you were painting a picture like there is no substantial value. There is actually value on ground. These assets actually bring value. Maybe we should discuss preservation of these assets, like Honorable Paul actually mentioned. We should discuss the preservation. How do we then protect and preserve these assets, you know, by ensuring that they are maintained on time, they are supervised, routinely really checked and kept in good condition. Otherwise, they've served us good.
What is the penalty to a contractor that has delayed to complete a project?
We have several. In the contract allows us several sanctions and penalties. You first of all must warn this contractor about a non-compliance. You inform them, and if they run along the same non-compliances, you can actually proceed to terminate. And we've had incidents in this country.
What is the cost to the country, to the termination? Because the reason I'm asking this, let's talk about the express.
Which express?
The Entebbe Express.
You know we have many and more coming.
Let's come to, those are coming. Let's talk about just the area of Boise.
The northern bypass.
The northern bypass. One side is closed off for months, and the minister comes out and gives them an ultimatum. In 2 weeks, the road was passable. So what penalties does such a contractor incur?
Yes, we have deductions on these contracts. If you actually do not perform as expected, we have deductions. You lose. Government actually recoups that money. So there are actually sanctions in these contracts. And our supervisors and project engineers must ensure that there are sanctions. If tomorrow a contractor does schedule work or incomplete work, and you have actually not done the due process of sanctions, then you'll be in trouble, because the contract allows us to penalize these contractors, except where we have not met our own bargain as government in terms of early or early payments to the contractors. There, they actually have us. Otherwise, if we've actually paid you, you must actually give us what we've actually asked you to do.
Finally, before I get...
The challenge you are being faced, the challenge, not actually challenge. This is where the president has come to say, Chisanja, no sleep. Because if we may ask ourselves, here we are, how many have we blacklisted as contractors who have not met? Because look at what has been happening in Kampala. Look at what has been happening in the whole country in this area of works. We as the people in leadership, I don't want to exonerate myself. I've also been part of the leadership. Who have we brought to book because of not meeting time? And this has been a problem because of corruption, but also there is the issue of in public service, both political and technical, there has been a lot of comfort. We've been finding a lot of comfort. I sit in my office, whether I've worked or not, I'm paid. Where is the evaluation process? Nobody is evaluating us to the letter. I evaluate others, others evaluate others, others evaluate others. But it's just about filling forms. We should stop this. We should stop this, and if somebody has not performed, let it be, because it is causing us challenges.
Thank you. Alan, my final question to you. The Nairobi Express, about 27 kilometers, no different from our Entebbe Express. It has a software that allows people to drive through. We don't need a toll of people of manual toll there. You put aside 5 billion shillings to be able to have a software done. You were supposed to recruit a company to do that. Why did you fail?
I think let's go quickly to what's actually being done. We're largely a cash-based economy, but not to say that this is where we should actually keep, okay? So there's been actually now effort underway at the moment to actually transition from the current cash arrangement to now go into cashless arrangement, including the mobile money transactions that you know, and other, I mean, you should be able to reach the toll and the car is scanned through an RFID tag, and you actually, if you have already paid, you're cleared to run. This is actually where we're transitioning to. I must say that we must go through phases. I think it's in Ethiopia actually, where it took them about 6 to 10 years to transition from cash to cashless. In Uganda, it's going to take us even less than 10 years because we're transitioning. We're already actually setting out TORs that will actually enable us to have this kind of cashless-based mechanism on the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway. So we are heading there. We don't want to keep you in under the cash arrangement.
Let me come to Honorable Mara. Honorable, the time, the aspect of time. To turn around time from here to Mbara, today it's between 5 and 6 hours.
Yeah.
To turn around time to go to Gulu comes to 6, 7 hours.
Yes.
Going to Fort Portal, southwest of Uganda, being able to go there, north of 5 hours. That time, like coming to Madam Idi's city, we're between 2 and 4 hours to be able to cut through jam.
Yeah.
Does government value time, especially when we're constructing roads? And what should inform the construction of a road in a certain direction?
Let me say this. I know the Right Honourable said we shouldn't look at the figures. First of all, let's give credit to government that for NRM government, it has added over 5,600 kilometers of tarmac roads. And that, in a sense, has helped us across the country to travel compared to where we were before, regardless of the fact that maintenance have been relatively poor. So that's why I can drive to Lira, take 5 hours. The same thing in Mbara, about 4 or 5 hours. But I think the problem now comes when you enter Kampala. We have never planned for Kampala. I was whispering to the executive director during the break time, is that in 2021, Parliament of Uganda passed a loan of 288 million for Kampala road rehabilitation. We are seeing only today where roads are being blocked and some work is being done. So is it a result of incompetence, of unseriousness, or lack of execution, lack of supervision, lack of accountability? Now, to whom do these people account? Exactly. To whom do they account? In fact, the Honorable Balam and Honorable Namere got so annoyed that they ordered for some people to be arrested, the thieves to be arrested. And we were in a committee of Park local government. Do you know what the Honorable Balam said? Out of the people that they arrested, and of course their files have been sanctioned, they were presented in courts as of yesterday. All of them have gotten what? Bail. So okay, they are suspects, but the question is, if the files are ready, why don't we prosecute? So there is a big problem in the country. So the guys in public service are very arrogant. They don't work. They think they are doing the people of Uganda a favor. We have either appointed them to be there. Some are, most of them are appointed because these are public servants. So how come Kampala, it's not only a shambolic city, it's the most crowded, traffic are totally disorganized. I come from my way from Yenga towards Jinja Runabout. You should see what's happening there. Borders in their hundreds. Even if the light is saying you go, you are trying to go, but borders are crossing without control. So there's a system which has failed, has broken down, I think we need to revisit and review our governance strategy. We have to punish poor execution, poor service delivery, because the citizens deserve better. All of us, just go across in Rwanda there and you see what's happening there. So why can't we have Kampala city? No wonder the chief of defense forces, MK, was actually now saying, I don't know how ED feels, because that constitutionally it is an overreach by the military, but I think everybody is annoyed about the problem of Kampala. So where you find now the roads in Kampala is not being worked upon, money is available, it is eaten, no work is done, and you feel like you have some powers. If you're a CDF, what would you do? I would even do the same thing. Now I've seen his tweets, he's saying he wants now the budget for the ED to go and be managed by him. It is now, how do I call it? It is a military overreach, but it's a vote of no confidence in us, the political elite, with our public service team. So I think this matter must be taken very seriously. And if indeed this is Kisanja no more sleep, Kisanja no corruption, then I think every institution of government must take the lead, must carry the whip.
Honorable Mara, let me come to you.
Otherwise there's lethargy.
I want to come to you about funding. Alan spoke about it, hinted on it, and it's something that I want to bring to you.
Yes.
The Nairobi Express has found a way of a public-private partnership.
Yeah.
And it is not a burden to the citizen.
Yeah.
We have NSSF that is there, this private-public partnership that is there.
Yes.
Billions of money are spent on year. The three highest things on our budget are always repayment, security, and infrastructure. How do we find alternative funding that is not going to cost Ugandans an arm and a leg or internal organs to pay back these loans?
You've said correctly. We normally have a discussion with Patrick Ayota, the MD of NSSF. You know, NSSF now has a 30 trillion fund. That's a lot of money. And this economy cannot just keep that money within our bond and money markets environment. They have taken that money to Kenya and to Tanzania. There is exchange risk, involved. So why don't we use this money here? If it is required, we can even change the law. And NSSF, by the way, was willing to be part of the Kampala-Jinja highway. So the people who are being given the executive authority should be able to think. Those who are working with the president should be able to support him, come up with proposals. Because we can fund some of these projects without IMF money. Because we have money here. So the question is, and we've been having conversation with Dr. Momobuza here, there are a lot of alternatives which we can give to the president. Recently I was involved with the governor, Patrick Ayota, and another CEO, looking at alternative funding where this private sector can de-risk. NSSF can de-risk for the private sector to bring their own money here. So our educated elite having these conversations and making these proposals so that the president can look at it. If you look at the Entebbe highway, my brother here now, they are minting money, but that was foreign money borrowed. So if we had used our own money, the savers would be benefiting from it, even the interest being paid by us to ourselves. So we'll keep the money here. So there must be, I think we must have our thinking heads on and begin to see how best can we look for alternative investments to fund our own projects. And then also, cadre identification is important. We should just not be putting people in positions of responsibilities and they mess us up. The best we can do is to chase them and let them go. When the colossal impact, the opportunity cost that this country would have taken is deplorable.
Thank you.
So cadre identification is important, and I know my senior is here listening. We need to get the right people in the right places. If we put dunderheads there, we should not cry. Because if you sleep with the dogs, don't cry when you walk up with fleas. The British say so.
Thank you. Let me come to Professor. Dr. Muhumza, the last time we spoke about anything along produce and production, you mentioned something that really stayed with me, that now food is no longer, there's a percentage of food that is no longer coming from the rural areas to the urban areas. We're now sending food from the urban areas to the rural areas. When we are constructing these roads, when we're thinking about the design, when we're thinking about connectivity, what should inform the design, the construction, and this route to go in a certain way, and what economic leverage should we be thinking about there?
Yeah, because roads are not just roads. We have been struggling to say the roads and the electricity are enablers.
Yes.
The real drive of growth is that farmer, is that maize mill, is that cattle keeper, whoever they are out there. The road is simply to help them. And I find it quite a little bit absurd that many times we simply talk about the tarmac roads, as if farmers live along the tarmac roads.
Mm.
The real farmer might actually be 3 kilometers off the tarmac road, but it's going to cost them 2 days to reach that tarmac road. So even your conversation of the 6 hours to Mbarara and I don't know how many, this farmer is just stuck the other side because the culvert that is supposed to help them cross over. And Edie here is telling us how they are dealing with getting the water down there. It's the same story in the countryside. Unfortunately for them, they don't have the privilege of what is happening in Kampala. We simply roll out a political budget to them, 1 billion per district. Regardless of how many kilometers you have, the soil types you have, the terrain you have. And Honorable Baramanamere would go there and say, hey guys, what happened? I mean, 1 billion can simply repair a grader. A tire of a grader is not your tire of if it is. If the cable or the hydraulic pipe is broken, where do you get it? So these units we gave to the local governments have become a burden to them. Now you're not going to talk about even the standard gauge rail and the meter gauge when you can't get the coffee from Bundibugyo and put it on the road, which road does not exist. And the conversation, as you were saying earlier, now everybody may feel bad of the truck that fell on the family. You have sympathy for the family. But nobody is looking at the cost put on the truck man himself. To get that container back on track is going to be a huge cost on him. Who knows what goods he had? He was transporting for somebody. But that's the cost of bad infrastructure. If you are to bring it in, the economy is really going to be suffering. Now, it goes even further. The road you're talking about where that truck fell is a tourism road.
True.
Somebody is reading social media who planned to come to Uganda and go for the Rwenzori Marathon using that same road. That guy is going to cancel. He's coming because of the risks around. So there is a whole network of when we are planning for these roads, do we do political budgets, 1 billion everywhere, or do we go by the cost? What will it take to get that farmer come out, to get that sick person reach the health center, and that kid cross and go and sit their UNEB exams? So there is a lot more that we are not using, and we end up sending budgets that literally don't solve the problem because we are not using the numbers and the real planning to inform these things. But we have budgets. I was reading the Auditor General's report, 2024-2025. We appropriated the budget of 72 trillion. We added on a supplementary of 6. It went to 78. We spent 63. So you can already see that the budget itself is floating like a kite. How do you move from 72 to 78 and then eventually you spend 73? And then the following year we said, oh, we had budgeted for 72. We began from 72 and moved upwards. So the realities of implementation of these budgets is a nightmare. As I said earlier, we've got to go back to the World Bank and say, what is our rating on our policies and institutions, can we get the tenfold growth if we have this kind of state? We are all debating the theft in the local government budget. The local government budget is about 10% of the entire national budget. And part of that 70% is literally salaries and wages. So nobody is stealing that. But you can see how it has messed up the situation. The biggest budget is in the center, central government. And who is checking that particular budget to see if it gives us the value that we need? Honorable here is talking about NSSF. 75% of the NSSF money is already with the government. They put it into bonds of government. You want now to say, okay, leave NSSF alone. You, Mr. Government, what did you do with the NSSF money? Remember me who saved there. I'm counting on NSSF money to improve the future when I will have retired, that there will be a health center 3 working in the village where I will have retired. So did the government use NSSF money to do that improvement? We need to get back, and for me, we must get back to the rationalization of agencies and public expenditure. There is no way we are going to find, we cannot borrow ourselves out of debt. We've got to come back and say, where are we spending the money? How do we raise additional money to give to the ED here to fix these roads, to give to the local governments to fix those roads? That money must come from within us. Otherwise, if you keep borrowing, you're going to borrow to pay debt, borrow to pay interest, and there's no money left to deliver. So we've got to come back and rationalize the government. Say, if Timothy here earns 2 million, and Timothy is not being given a car by his employer, why should a commissioner in government who has 12.7 million be given a car? If I saved that budget of buying new vehicles, by the way, I don't mind the MPs, we give them 300 million, they are on their own. And the 300 million, the commissioner is driving a car of 400 million. You give him fuel, you service it. We've got to go for those big things and say, money for roads must not be borrowed. We must rationalize government, find this money, and put it in there. If we don't do that, we are really digging a deeper hole, and I don't think it will help us. Alan is talking about the, is it cashless? I mean, that's an excuse I wouldn't buy. I don't find people at the airport when I cross there. Those guys are already using there. You go and pay in the machine. Even here exiting at the mall, Lugogo, there's nobody handling your cash. In Makerere where I work, we are not handling cash. There is a machine. So what is wrong with these fellows at the expressway? If I know I am... Exactly. If I know I'm going to Entebbe, shouldn't there be a machine somewhere where I can even pay online by mobile money? Everybody has a mobile money, especially those who use the expressway. They want the cash. I want to pay there, plug that thing into my system. As I am coming, it will read my number plate, and know this number plate paid. We are doing it at this Kampala malls. You go and feed in your number plate, you pay, you drive out. There is a camera there which reads your number plate, opens for you, and you go. So what cashless is he talking about?
There is actually a card. At the moment, we allow you to use a card. So you don't have to use cash.
But I'm saying you can even now use what the others are using at the malls.
That's where we're heading now. The RFID.
But you're saying 10 years of Ethiopia that we're going to be faster? This technology has been in Makere for 5 years, has been at the airport for years. I mean, people are sleeping, as Honorable said, because your salaries are guaranteed, no creativity, no nothing.
But also us as Minister of ICT are the ones to enforce that. We're also sleeping. I'm not saying only them with the NAS.
We're actually working with Nita.
I like the blame Honorable has taken. Can you all up? And we say by end of this year,
no, if I need it,
we will be there. Because we can. Lugogo just came the other day.
Professor,
you don't see anybody.
People who are driving in this country, most of them are semi-literate or illiterate. They are able to fill for driving permit online and pay. And you go and pick it there in person. And actually now people have started saying that the quickest you can get in this country, the quickest service is the driving permit. Because it's serving the ordinary person. Can we also improve to that level and beyond that?
They are sleeping on the job.
Because the same government has done it.
He's going to give us Katonga by end of the year. My problem is not Katonga. You guys talk about bridges and roads. How do I reach Katonga? Already that road is demanding. The road itself. And that's why I spend more money. Katonga I pass. But by the time I get to Katonga, I've already lost 3 hours. Now, if I was a trader, if I was a tourist, little wonder our tourists are ending up in Rwanda. I would end with a very good experience. Somebody gave me a task, and somebody is exporting flowers in Uganda. The flowers go to the Netherlands. That is the flower hub for Uganda, yes. for Europe. There is no Ugandan plane going to the Netherlands, direct. You go to Gatwick, but even those planes are small body. Yes. Down there is only luggage for Honorable Mara's carry-on bag. The one he has not checked in. Yes. So your flower exporters are having to leave Uganda, go to the Middle East, and then go the other side. Now, the Middle East is no longer working. Planes are not flying there the way they used to do. People are using chartered aircrafts to take flowers. That cost of doing business, and you're here saying, oh, FDI is going to come. The FDI, before they come, they will ask the other Ugandans, how are you moving your fish? How are you moving your flowers? How are you moving XY? Then Uganda's cost of doing business shoots through. So what are we doing to lower the cost of doing business? These discussions have got to go down. You will see it flying up there, but once you eat, it comes down. We've got to come and address the detail. As I always say, Honorable Mara here may have a car of 700 million. I don't need to touch his entire car. I will only come and remove 3 nuts from the tire, which are worth 100,000. His 700 million is grounded. So we're going to be here discussing a road investment of 5 billion, so many kilometers of tarmac. Just take a small thing that is not working. Will make all that useless. So we've got to address the detail. We've got to get down and say, what will it take to get the coffee out, the beans out, that child to school, and X, Y, and Z. So I think, as the Honorable Minister has said, we are sleeping on the job, and we cannot just claim and say, now this is team no sleep. No. We are already sleeping on our jobs. We are not sleeping in our homes. Actually, if you go home, we are not sleeping. But we are sleeping on the job. Somebody has got to wake up. Sorry for MK, by the time he carries her budget, he will realize it's hardly there. It's simply her budget for salaries and wages.
It's asked for it, for the budget.
And that's it. Somebody will tell him the budget is not there literally, because it doesn't belong to her. It is salaries, it's wages. This country must wake up and say, I don't have the money to do what I need to do, and I'm not going to resort to borrowing all the time.
But
I must rethink
Professor, the little we have given you, show us what you've done with it. I think that is what we are.
It's sometimes too little.
No.
Have only repaired the grader and brought the soil on the ground.
If we gave you $288 million, that is not little money. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
Tell us what we have done this road. I was meant to do this road. Show us.
Next time she will come with you the figures on how much it costs these culverts, these big ones.
The box culverts.
The box, even the other round ones.
We can't live in a flooded city.
Even to dig.
I'm not blaming her. She has just come, but we can't live in a flooded city.
It's not about her. It's about the institution. That's why
the institution, yes.
The World Bank doesn't assess her as an individual. It comes and says the policies and the institutions.
Yeah, but
and we're being found wanting.
We just need to honor.
I think also, Professor, we as government also must take on the whole government approach.
Exactly.
Because sometimes we blame KCCA for what should have been done by Ministry of ICT or Works. Let me give an example, just one example. In this government, we adopted the issue of having a utility corridor. So, it ended somewhere. So, we must coordinate ourselves in the government to get back to how to have a utility corridor across the country, because we have, when I'm doing my work of ICT, I will give a contract and they will go and dig up her road.
Yes.
When the national water comes, we'll go and dig up that very road.
Yes.
Where is the utility corridor? At least we begin with the center, Kampala, because it makes this sector distort the other. And yet under the development plan 4, we have the whole of government approach. We have 18 programs where we are supposed to work, no longer in silos, but as teams, as groups. So we must get to whatever is on paper to be practiced.
Yes.
You avoid
program-based budgeting.
You need a jet. That's why the security sources, they sorted it out. So,
Dr. Mumza, go
up to Mbuya,
Yes.
learn how jet operates.
Yes.
Come and plug it.
But Timothy, I think, I don't know, again, time, but I also just wanted to draw for you what the picture looks like, giving you just updates on the road network.
Let me come to you, Alan.
Let's first listen.
First listen to the landlord.
Yes.
The owner of where we're staying.
Yes.
Madam Idi, you know, Kampala has become, it hasn't changed. It's still the 5 divisions that you have. But now we have Wakiso, we have Mukono, we have Seta. We have tributaries of how this whole city is. People come from Wakiso to work here. People come from Mukono to work here. What is the relationship between Kampala, Mukono, Wakiso, Seta? What is that relationship like to improve and facilitate, especially trade, growth, and services and people movement?
Okay, thank you very much, Timothy. I am going to answer that question, but I also wanted to put some record right on the 288 million US dollars for the Kampala Roads Rehabilitation Project. I know when you take over an institution, you take over assets and liabilities, and I'm alive to that fact.
Yes.
To that fact.
Yes.
But I would like to assure the people of Kampala that that money did not go to waste. In that amount of money, we were supposed to work on 104 kilometers of road. And in the last 2 financial years, 75 kilometers, 0.13 have been completed. And I can even give you which roads these are.
That would be good.
The roads which we have worked on, we have Sir Apollo Kagwa. All of you know how that road is looking like. You have 5th Street, you have 6th Street, Spring Road, we have Old Portable Road. We have not yet completed, but we are working on it. We also have Old Mubende Road. People are already using that road. And also, we have started works on Chitezi Road. Now, from Chitezi, it takes me to your question. 4 kilometers, the Chitezi is 9 kilometers. But 4 kilometers are in Kampala, the other kilometers are in Wakiso. Why are we working on it? The relationship we have as Kampala with the greater Kampala and metropolitan area is that we are now doing joint planning. Because what affects Chira, what affects Wakiso, has a spiral effect on Kampala. So in most of the things like now road infrastructure, we plan jointly. You may find me as KCCA now working on Chinawataka Road up to Nambole. Because when it comes to AFCON, people will be traveling from Kampala to go to Nambole. And I cannot only work up to Nakawa. Because when people are traversing through, the people who are coming to the country will not know where Kampala stops.
Exactly.
So we will have to have that interconnectedness planned together. The same thing with the black spots we are talking about. When you go to Soyabonga, when you go to Bata, there are places where you cannot just stop because you know that's where the boundary ends. If you have a conscription on the other side, then we'll have to do it jointly. So we are now having joint planning. For example, the Kampala Fiscal Development Plan, Greater Kampala Fiscal Development Plan, we have planned together with all the 9 entities, and we are coming up with a fiscal development plan for the whole of Kampala. We are also advancing the issue of the drainage master plan. If we work on Kampala alone, then Chira, Wakiso, Entebbe will have bigger drains when they have the old type. So it will affect the whole area. So we are doing joint planning. Recently, when we were enforcing trade order, among the spaces we acquired, we had to coordinate with our sister entities in the Greater Kampala and metropolitan area. Mukono gave us 1,000 spaces in Goma. We went to markets in Nansana and all those other places. Why? Kampala has a residence population of 1.7 million people, but during the day it doubles. These people are coming from the Greater Kampala into the capital city. Even if we are doing behavior change, The people who sleep here are not the only ones who impact on the services we have. So every reform we undertake, we also target the outer part of Kampala because it has an effect on the city.
And I'm grateful you've answered that. Before I jump into the messages here, let me sneak in one. The last time we had a national cleaning day, garbage became a problem. Everywhere you drove, you found it. It's coming back at the end of the month. What is the plan that KCCA has to make sure that this does not become garbage in our new drainages, but we're insulating it against the population?
Thank you very much. As KCC, as Kampala capital city, we have this time planned better, and we'll have greater improvement in terms of the turnaround time in collection and evacuating waste from communities, and also the level of organization within our structures. We know that all urban centers or cities fund waste through the polluter or the collector fees from the polluters or the people who generate waste. So we have zoned Kampala into 9 constituencies, and we have allocated private concessionaires who are supposed to collect waste. During the procurement, we required each private concessionaire who is bidding to have a minimum of 10 trucks, with each truck having 10 tons. For us as KCCA, the trucks we have are very garbage to a tune of 500 tons from public spaces, markets, schools, sweepings on the roads, and so on. Now, from the households, the NEMA Act is clear: the polluter pays. So it's a polluter pay principle. So we have allocated these private concessionaires to the different constituencies. This week, we are sensitizing the LOC1s, LOC2s, our waste management officers, the VHTs who go house to house, to inform the community that we are no longer going to dump on the road or on the verandas. It is going to be a bring-to-truck model. The truck, the leadership is now agreeing on the pickup points in the different areas, and they will be having announcements on when the truck is reaching their area. So different trucks will be moving around to be able to pick waste. These trucks do not belong to KCCA per se, but using the polluter pays principle, we have contracted private concessionaires with trucks in the 9 constituencies. Then for us, we'll be moving in the open spaces or the common user spaces to collect whichever waste will be there using our own trucks. And we feel that will improve. The question people have been asking is that people said that for us, we are going to hold our waste, wait for the cleaning day, and then bring it out. We will not pay the collector fees. We have had engagements with the population on that in our weekly cleanups, and these engagements we are having this week. These concessionaires, the ones we have awarded, they are already going house to house, informing people. They are the ones working there with even our staff. So this polluter or the generator of waste is going to pay a very minimal fee, not on that day, but for collecting your waste. For example, for domestic waste in homes which we have not categorized as humble homesteads, those ones are paying 3,000 per 50 kilogram bag of waste. So the more waste you generate is the more money you will do what? You will pay. If you generate 200 kilograms, then that's the money you will pay. Now for what we usually call slums or humble settlements, for those ones it is 1,000 per 50 kilogram bag of waste. Now these concessionaires are moving around the households to collect. So at the day of cleaning, this one it may not be possible because it has just started. We are going to clean with the concessionaires, but going forward, as you bring out your waste, you just show your receipt that you paid your collector fees.
Okay.
And then you load your garbage.
Thank you. Let me read some feedback before I give you parting shots. Good evening, Timothy. I'm suggesting that next time we bring Mr. Bamwine to explain to us the relevance of the office of the RDC in local government. Everything is eaten under their watch. This is Barasa in Munyonyo, okay? Good evening, Timothy. Thank you for the show. This is Gabriel from Mutungo. I would like to know from the Ministry of Works, do they consider the quality of road, the layers of tarmac, and also does it meet the load that is put on them while the cars are moving? Monthly we see potholes and we see contractors coming to cover them and fill them up. What does that mean? And does Ministry of Works do a soil sample before designing a road? Very good questions. Alan will respond to those in his parting shots. Thank you, Timothy. I'm watching you from Mbale City. Thank the Right Honorable Justin Lumumba for being very elaborate and towards the issues of governance and commitment, but also for her coming out and saying, you know what, we have fault as government. That is accountability. That is where we start the value for money. Okay. Good evening, Timothy. Thank the people that are panelists there. This is Sulaiman from Buikwe. I would like the Honorable to inform us, the Prime Minister, Honorable Balam, need to visit or inspect Mulago Hospital because there is nothing for free. Not even the doctors are for free. Okay. Lastly but not least, please do not tamper with the NSSF. It's all we have as workers. The government should find other alternatives in private means. The foreign loans haven't even been paid. Government wants to take our NSSF. No, it will not pay us back. Let government find its own way. Okay. Finally, good evening, Timothy. Thank you for the show. I want to thank the ED for being very elaborate. This is Kenneth from Salama. I'm watching. A highway to the middle income status or a bottleneck to the growth. I humbly request or appeal that the Honorable Minister and the ED for personal support. Okay, please, this is not for personal support. Thank you very much. I will start with Madam ED, Dr. Mhumza, Honorable Mara, Alan, and finally the Right Honorable Justin Lumumba.
Parting shot?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Timothy, and thank you, our viewers. I think this is one of the critical topics we should be discussing. To us in KCCA, every kilometer of road rehabilitated means improving mobility, reducing the cost of doing business, enhancing the tourism potential of our city, and then after having it rehabilitated, reconstructed, upgraded, the main hassle we should have and which government should be funding is maintenance.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Fred.
The roads we are building are possibly going to be with us for the next 25 years or so. I learned this from the Japanese when we were negotiating the design and costing of the Nile Bridge. They said if we design this bridge for 100 years lifespan, what will Uganda be like then? So you might be celebrating these roads we have done. You boss is telling me in the next 23 years, there will be 85 million Ugandans. Will these roads serve them? If we have designed them to last the next 20 years, where would they be living? What if, as I was discussing with the ED here, just an extra 2 million would have decided to live in Luzira? Would Port Bell Road be there for them? So we seem to be designing for today, and yet we are designing a road to last 20 years.
Yes.
And we are not factoring in what will 20 years look like. That middle part of the road to Luzira, I wish that was designed for a tram. The Americans were building to bury people. We are burying water down there. When are we even going to be thinking of underground trains? Because the 85 million coming in 23 years, many of them I don't think are going to be in Bundibuju. They are possibly going to be here. They will be moving around. So we need to just factor in the long-term planning.
Yes.
We're not using the numbers that I say. We seem to be planning for the current set of vehicles. I want to see all these vehicles off, including mine. Let's get on trams, let's get on buses, let's go underground there. Who is thinking that way? I will leave that as a question mark.
Thank you very much. Something food for thought. Honorable Mar.
Yeah, thank you very much, Timothy. There's a lot of takeaways. First of all, I'm very impressed with the ED, KCCA, and hopefully that she will do exactly what Jennifer Musisi did. It might be unpopular, but I think it will leave us with a better city. Timothy, I think we have noted on these road issues that there has been a lot of corruption, which must be dealt with, because there was inflation over inflated invoices on those roads, which keeps on climbing. I think that is what we need to safeguard for the new roads. The other thing that we also need to deal with is actual reforms. Reforms in the public service systems, because it's very difficult, we have noted, to punish people who are corrupt, punish people who are lazy. So we need to reform the law so that it makes it easy for us. We can sit as a disciplinary committee and get somebody to go home without much complex activities. And also, I think, appeal to the Chief Justice is that the judiciary needs to help us on this fight of corruption. Because if the corrupt people, I know, me personally, I believe that bail is a fundamental right to individuals. But I think for the guys who have stolen so much money, if they come out quickly with those sacks of bags, we will not have justice. So the judiciary should come full circle to help us with this fight. Otherwise, Kisanja, no more sleep, is beginning to have impact. And I also pray that other ministers should adopt what Honorable Balaam and Namere has done and Honorable Biamokama has done. Let the rest, and let's see how the country is going to be like. For us, I think as Parliament, we are going to do our work of oversight, and we are going to be absolutely brutal.
Also on the loans. Alan, over to you.
Thank you very much. For me, going back to the theme tonight, highway to the middle income status, I think yes. Because for every kilometer built, what government envisages is that it should attract development, it should create impact. So let's utilize this infrastructure base that we have and ensure that indeed they drive us to the middle income status. Because currently, government only paving is paving about 1,200 kilometers. That is what is going to be added to our paved stock network. And not to speak about even those under rehabilitation. We have about 900 kilometers of roads that are being improved, rehabilitated. So highway to the middle income status, I think on the right track. What we now ought to do is to preserve this asset base and protect it and ensure that it serves us for all the other generations to come. A bottleneck to growth, yes, if we drive on these highways recklessly. That road safety message. We need to drive responsibly, be cautious, because our roads are shared spaces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lastly, Right Honorable Justine.
I want to thank our viewers, and I want us as leaders in the government to adopt the method of doing internal checking as we serve people, so that people are able even to know that as we serve, we are able to tell our mistakes, but with the intention of finding a way forward to improve service delivery. Short of that, this accumulation of blame, accumulation of corruption, accumulation of that will continue, and will not help us deliver better to the community. And yet we are in leadership, in trustship, because the country belongs to Ugandans, the resources are for Ugandans, we are managing on their behalf. We should be able to be able to even guard and be able to deliver better. When the president said Chisanja no sleep, Chisanja no corruption, like I said in the beginning, you a head of an institution, you a head of a sector, you a head of a school, you a head of an agency, you're supposed to look at yourself in that institution. Are you doing the right thing you are supposed to do? Are you able to have value for money? Are you delivering in time? Aren't you just comfortable? And you also just a busy body, not delivering? We have to. Then, when elected leaders, we politicians, we're supposed to go back and work in our communities. Yes, I come from a community. Government has constructed the tarmac road. Are my people just using the tarmac road to dry cassava, and is that the right way? What is the chemical reaction? What effect has it got on the what? On the life of the people who are doing that? These are things we must explain to the people. Now, I come from a community which is growing sugarcane, a community that grows maize on a small scale. Is that what you require? What are the alternatives government is offering? So that we explain that please leave the growing of sugarcane and go for the growing of the palm oil, because government is going to give you a soft loan which you'll be able to pay in maybe 10 years, but be able to have this palm oil which you will harvest after. You will harvest after 4 years, but when you start after the 4 years, you will continue harvesting and earning from this 1 acre every month. As of now, is 500,000 per month for the next 25 to 30 years. It is the responsibility of us leaders to go and explain. So we cannot run away. We are in a world, we must compete at national level, but we must also be able to compete at the global level. We in the ministries, even me as minister in charge of ICT, UBC falls under my ministry. I must come here and see whether UBC is doing the right thing.
Yes.
Yes. It's my work to come and see money allocated to UBC. What is this money doing? How, when we are talking of the cleaning days, how clean is UBC itself? You know, before we pass over the messages of KCCA, of Ministry of Works, Gand clean, how clean is this working environment for people who are working in this UBC? So we must begin from your sector, begin from your home, begin from your community before you go out there. So responsibility as Minister of National Guidance, I want to say, the President said it, Chisanja no sleep, Chisanja no corruption. If you're head of a sector, please do it in your sector. And also, we who are heading the different programs under the programs under development plan 4, we also have to do it within also our programs. Most importantly, we've been given the responsibility to have the opportunity to serve this country at this time. We are the leaders of the time. Let's leave Uganda better, and we are doing all this work in trustship. I thank you. But let's work with everybody, and don't leave it to only we politicians, because you have realized if it is an issue of works, there are roads which are worked on by the central government, but there are also roads that are worked on by the district, and roads worked on by the sub-county. But it also leaves the last mile for you, the community. Government is not going to work on the road that takes you to your toilet or latrine. Government is not going to work on you. Everybody has been given responsibility. Let's all do our work, and let's also work with everybody to make this country better.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to discuss such a pertinent issue. Alan, thank you for coming on short notice to be here, but also the production team that has made today possible for you to be able to see us. I want to thank everyone that has been watching up to this very end, but most importantly, the ones that have sent in messages. There's so many, I've not been able to read all of them, but we'll end with this quote. Continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. Good morning.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.